Hi, Dino Tripodis with Whiskey Business, and we're on a field trip this week at Middle West Spirits. How did two guys go from, hey, let's make some booze, to a national empire? You'll find out tonight. Remember when you were in school and you got excited because you were going to go on a field trip, but you had to go home first and get your permission slip signed by your parents, and they asked you a lot of questions as to where you were going, and you really didn't have a good answer as to where you were going because you never heard what the educational reason was for the field trip. All you knew is that you were not going to be in class or in school for a day. You were going to be out. And yes, there had to be something educational attached to it. Maybe you're going to Washington, D.C. to see something you don't know. Or maybe you were going to the zoo to see something you didn't care. All you knew is that you were going on a field trip, and that was the most important thing in the world. And every once in a while, your mother or your father wouldn't sign off on the permission slip, and you couldn't go, and you were forced to stay back with a bunch of other kids in the school that you're not supposed to be in while everybody else was learning and being educated and out of school. Well, we're on a field trip tonight, and guess what? We don't have any permission slips from our mothers. We came all on our own, and we're going to learn a lot tonight about whiskey made right here in Columbus, Ohio. Hello, I'm Dino Tripodis, and welcome to Whiskey Business, a podcast not so much about whiskey as it is one with whiskey, and tonight it is definitely one with whiskey. We have the honor and the pleasure of being here at Middle West Spirits. Some of you may be familiar with OYO and have been part of the whole transition, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. But we're here with Director of Marketing, Josh Daly, and Ryan Lang, one of the man's, the brains, you run it, and he sells it. Is that what you told me earlier?
Something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of selling, Hansberry, a couple quick things before we get started.
Please subscribe to Whiskey Business on iTunes. Rate and review us because that helps propagate. That's my new favorite podcasting word. Propagate.
Do you know?
That's good. Yeah.
Do you know what the definition of propagate is?
To propagate yeast? Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
See, maybe it's a whiskey term that I didn't even know about.
I still don't know. I just don't know if you're using it correctly.
It just means when you subscribe and rate and review on iTunes, more people find out about us. So what would the right word be? Propagate, disseminate, prostitute.
There you go. Pour it out. Yeah. Pour it out. Yeah. So the more you subscribe, the more we're able to whore it out. I think that's a term.
Okay,
that
whore it out. All right.
Everybody
Fair enough.
would understand.
Well, thank you for whoring yourself out.
That's what he means by propagate.
Well, it is an Apple iTunes product, so sorry, bite the hand that feeds us.
But
Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. This is actually very cool. We'll get into it a little bit, but we're on site, like Dino said, and John Whitney's here with the video cameras. It's a beautiful, beautiful room we're in. It's gorgeous. Like I was teasing earlier, it's one of the coolest rooms in the fucking city. If you don't mind me saying.
It is a cool room, and that's my first question. And I kind of teased it.
Well, hold on, let me get it. Subscribe to YouTube, Whiskey Business with Dino Tripodis.
Okay.
Now you can talk.
Now I can continue. All right. That wasn't awkward at all.
Sorry.
Which is
I'll be dwelling on that. Sorry.
I'm gonna do a podcast now. One of my first questions, and I kind of teased it in the opening. How did it go from, hey, let's make some booze, to literally this? This is millions of dollars of equipment and service being, running night and day, I would imagine, yes?
Oh, yeah.
How did it go from, it's not like, hey, let's put on a play. My dad's got a barn, my sister's got some costumes, and then you go and put on a little play in the backyard. This is major. So how did that even grow from that initial idea? Who had the idea, first of all?
Well, I have a little bit of a family history in distilling, and when I met Brady, my business partner, in 2008, I was like, look, I can build this. I'm an engineer, process engineer. I can make liquor. My family's been doing it for a long time.
Now, when you say your family's been doing it for a long time, legally?
Oh, hell no.
No, okay.
No. They had a little bit of a bootlegging history, and I learned at an early age the ins and outs of what this constituted, how you made this work. But when we decided to go all in, that was my job. It was go make sure you can make stuff and see where we go. And then it just metastasized over the years, and we realized that we really, really, really love the idea of long term of creating some pretty amazing whiskeys right here in Columbus, Ohio. And we decided to just take every dollar we ever made and we just dumped it right back in. So that's really what did it. Every dollar just went right back into just figuring out how to build this, because whiskey is a game of volume and attrition. It's time, it's aging, it's making sure you have the right amount of product put back so you can sell it 5-10 years down the road. It's a hard model. It's a very hard model.
And in 2008, when you get the idea to found the company, obviously you're not going to have any product in 2008. You're just putting your heads together and trying to figure out what the next steps are going to be. Help me with my history here. Where in the whiskey bourbon boom were we at that point? Were we just kind of like growing, or had just busted wide open?
No, it hadn't yet. It was starting to. The craft segment was still pretty young. We went to our first ADI, American Distilling Institute conference in Alameda, California, at Hangar 1, St. George, in 2007. And I think there were 100 of us standing in a room. We were the 56th licensed distillery to be actually operating in the United States, and now it's over 2,000.
Wow.
So it was very early on, and nothing had really broken free yet. You could see the opportunity, and then craft just took off. And then the large guys, they just started growing as well. Bourbon caught fire, and it's still pretty hot right now.
It's still very, very hot.
Yeah.
Now, was Brady into whiskey, or did he have any background or history in this world, or he just thought, like, what sounds good to me, I'm in?
No, Brady was he was more on the digital marketing side. One of the Bill Owens at ADI, he told us a long time ago, back when we first started, he's like, if you spend $1 in producing, you better spend $1 in marketing and sales. And he was right. He's like, if you raise $1 million to build this, you better raise $1 million to sell it. And Brady brought that to the table. He's got an extensive background in that, and he came in and took over the marketing while I built the place. And Josh and I mashed in at 2 a.m.
So
for a good 2 years.
When did Josh come into this? Were you here from the get-go with all this?
I was, yep.
From the very beginning.
Brady and Ryan are kind of like the yin and the yang, right? Left brain, right brain coming together. They both complement each other very well. I had the pleasure of coming on pretty early before he launched to learn how to mash, ferment, and distill with Ryan and understand process.
Wow. And did you know anything about this world before you got into it?
Besides drinking it, no.
No. But you know
what? Start.
That is a good start.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to know what you like and to be able to discern what your tastes are going to be and say, yeah, I like this. But as far as selling the product, I mean, were you nervous going in? Like, how am I going to do this?
A little bit, but knowing how to make it and understanding the heart and the passion we put into it, it was easy. If you love what you do, it's easy to sell.
So you remember those early days when you first started it?
Oh yeah,
and where it was, and where you guys are now, which you are covering. You have gone national with your product. And what's Josh like today? Selling Middle West as opposed to day one back in 2000.
A lot busier.
A lot
busier.
Now it's still fun, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Definitely, yeah. I think with anything else, as you grow, you experience different things, and you get to move on and experience, different roles. And that's been the fun part. We worked really hard when we first started. We're still working hard now, and the benefit of what we've built is to hopefully start having a lot more fun again. It's been hard. It hasn't been easy, but we've still enjoyed everything we've done.
Yeah.
Now, you said you got some history, Ryan, in the whiskey making world.
Yeah.
Some bootlegging history. Where are you from originally?
Originally central Pennsylvania,
Okay.
small town called Williamsburg, like Williamsburg, Virginia. There's one in Pennsylvania that's near Altoona State College area,
Okay.
where Penn State is.
Yeah.
And I grew up in a farming community, 2,500 people. Our family immigrated. My mother's side of the family immigrated in the early 1900s. 1902 was the big Italian immigration. My father's side of the family immigrated in the mid 1800s, and then I had two grandfathers in the Civil War. They were Scottish, had the Italians, but
So that's your mix. That's your mix.
It is.
Scottish and Italian.
Yep.
So basically, you get in a fight and kick your own ass.
Yeah, more or less, all the time. I argue with myself a lot. So when our family came over, they're just like every other Italian immigrated. They're poor and worked in rock quarries. My great-grandfather did, and had 11 kids. And then my grandfather went to World War II. Both my grandfathers did. They were in the Pacific campaigns, came back, used the GI Bill. My grandfather Michaelone, that's what we named that one after, the Michaelone Reserve.
Oh, wow.
He took his GI Bill and he bought farms. He bought 3 farms, helped the family grow, and they actually moonshined as a byproduct. So when they had extra grain at the end of the year, like more families than you realize probably, that's what you did as an income. And they literally did that until, well up into the 70s and 80s. And when I was young, I had learned from him the basics of it. And when I told him, hey, I've got this harebrained idea, I'm going to go pay taxes. Right? And
He's the black sheep of the family,
yeah,
right?
He's like, well, if you're going to do that, let me tell you where my stuff is. And literally he spilled his guts, and I listened and took that in, and that's where everything kind of started. This was
So
in
what we're
2005.
consuming today, and I do want to mention that our initial guest bottle this evening, you guys have kind of been a running gag on the podcast through various episodes, because we had the Middle West straight wheated bourbon. I think that was bottle 85
Yep.
on the show, and we actually did this. When are you coming on? We're drinking your whiskey without you even asking us to.
Sorry.
Yeah. and now we've got the Middle West Spirit. This is the straight rye whiskey. This is 120 proof. This is a cask strength, and it is
It's damn good.
freaking delicious. It really is. Everybody. Some people, we don't claim to be whiskey experts on this show. I've said this 100 times, but we are whiskey enthusiasts, and a lot of people who are just now getting into whiskey will look at something and say, "Oh, 120 proof. I don't know. That'll kill me." But no, that's not necessarily the case. 120 proof doesn't mean it's going to be fire going down your throat. This is really, really smooth.
Yep.
This is really, really smooth. And my I'm straying away from my original question. Some of the whiskeys that we're tasting here at Middle West, and with some of the other products with OIO, do they initially come from those home recipes? I mean, is that where they're based out of?
Yeah, they do. So one of the backgrounds that I learned growing up is how important agriculture is to making something. Your food source is everything. So I grew up with it. We did everything. We canned tomatoes, canned green beans. I grew up with 2 full acre gardens where we planted 300 tomato plants every year. It was just a way of life. I didn't know anything else. So I really believe that when we started the company, that the basis for what we were going to create was based upon the best raw materials you can get. And, you get beyond the thought, then you get into the science, and the science actually really matters. So starch contents, flavor compounds, all that stuff comes directly from the ground. It's the terroir you usually hear wineries talk about. Mm-hmm. It's a real thing. How you distill it, how you break it down, how you treat it, it starts with that.
It's really flavorful too. Yeah. I mean, like 120 proof, but it's got a ton of flavor. It's really tasty.
And now that you put that ice cube in there, it's
Yeah.
going to open
It's
up
gonna
quite a
open
bit
it
more.
up a little bit more, but I wanted to taste it initially just all by its lonesome before I opened it back up. And Josh, when you're selling this product, and when you started selling this product, when they first started, putting out bottles in 2010, founded in 2008, bottles went out in 2010. Was that part of the spiel? Part of the, I hate to say spiel because that sounds kind of carny-like.
Hey,
but was that part of the pitch?
Yeah, it was part of it.
Was that part of the pitch? Saying,
It was
look, here's what we do and here's how we do it, and listen.
Yep, it was very important to understand where you're getting your stuff from. That was kind of when it started saying, where am I buying my groceries from? Where are my eggs coming from? Where are all these things? Being in Ohio, we're so close to agriculture as it is. Everyone in this room probably knows a farmer, right? So it's not too far removed from what we do.
I just met one tonight.
There you go. Getting to know that made it a little easier. When we first launched with a vodka with character, more of a European style, it was tough. I can tell you, it wasn't like any other vodka that was out in the market, and it was a harder sell. But once you got liquor to lips and people to try it, they understood the differences.
Yeah,
They
and what were
understood
you guys
we did.
thinking? Because vodka was huge. I mean, everybody had a vodka, and granted, it started to get a little crazy, diluted. There were my sister at Thanksgiving was drinking some sort of vanilla cream vodka from somebody or something. It was god awful, but she was like, "Oh, it's like I'm not even drinking vodka." There were so many vodkas on the market at that point. What made you even stop to think that this one will stand out? Because it did.
Yeah. Well, when we first started down that path, we looked at a lot of the neutrals that are in the category, and there were 90 on the store shelf up the street. We were like, oh my God, how are we going to compete with this? And by the way, we were running a still that was a peanut compared to what we have now. So our costs to make that were just astronomically high. We had to come up with something that was a little different. And we went and we worked with OSU up at their ag extension in Worcester. And there was a professor there. His name was Ed Souza. And Ed, we were like, Ed, we got to find this ultimate grain. We have to figure out how to let this stand out, because in vodka production, the last thing you do in vodka production is you run the vodka through a carbon molecular sieve. You run it through basically a Brita filter, a large Brita filter, and it takes anything that was made from that. I shit you not.
That
Anything
was the biggest word ever on Whiskey Business.
Yeah. Ding.
You win. Way to go, Ryan.
Oh gosh, sorry. I'll nerd out a little.
No, but I've run I've run some lower shelf whiskeys like Old Crow.
Yeah.
I've run them through a Brita filter.
It works.
It changes, right?
Yeah, it
It
changes
works.
it. It changes it incredibly.
Yeah, so the carbon absorbs the flavor compounds of what you're producing, right, wrong, or different, bad flavors, good flavors. It will completely eliminate them. So that process we wanted to skip. So we started with Ed, and we found about 10 different strains of wheat that were being grown, and we went Northern Ohio, Southern Ohio, Eastern Ohio, Western Ohio, and we settled on a mill that was in Fostoria, Ohio, called Manel Milling. And we tried their product, and it wasn't what you traditionally get. So if you're a Hefeweizen fan, you like beer, Hefeweizens have a huge concentration of wheat grain in the actual beer, along with the barley, the malted barley. And what do you get out of a Hefeweizen? Usually it's banana. And we did not want that. So we found this soft red winter wheat from Fostoria that had a vanilla tone to it. So as soon as we found it, we set upon spending time perfecting that and figuring out, did we get it right out of the gate? Absolutely not. The first couple of batches wasn't right.
Interesting.
But we just kept tweaking it over time, and we found something that was a little different, a little off character, but more towards what a Polish vodka would be. And that became our story. It became our that's where we stood, because we wanted to focus more on the agricultural side. And that's what we literally stuck our flag in around. Did we think about neutralizing it? We did. We tried it. We ran it through carbon, neutralized the thing. It was soft as you can't believe, and it tasted like nothing. But we're like, man, what are we doing? We're going to go compete with 90 people, or we're going to be something else. And we did, and boy, was it hard. I've had somebody spit that stuff out of my feet and say, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. But
saying like, you're going to try and sell this?
Yeah, something's wrong with this. I'm like, well, no, it's not. This is what traditional vodka actually tastes like. And we challenged that norm. We swam upstream. And in our business, when it comes to craft people will know this. Vodka and gin keep the lights on. Whiskey makes you something, like long-term. So whiskey's a long-term aging product. Vodka and gin, you're turning around 14 to 15 days. Grain comes in, it's going out in the bottle. That's where your cash flow is. And unfortunately, that's what most craft guys have to do, because most of us didn't have millions of dollars.
Yeah, you can't wait.
We had the shirt off our back, and we leveraged everything, and we went for it.
Something. Yeah.
And that was it. But that was our thing, and now Ohio vodka stands out for that.
But you didn't rush it either. I mean,
We
you
did
got
not.
it. You got it right. And then comes OIO vodka. And
Yep.
okay, because it's going to bring
Just
me
real quick, how long from like day one to that? A year, 3 years, 6 years?
Oh, it was a year.
A year.
It was a year. We got drunk a lot. So
Yeah, a lot.
we're running off
For
the
a good
still.
cause, for a good reason.
We're running
It's-
off the still at 190, and we're like, well, we don't like that. We like this, and it was a complete
You're,
mess.
you're tasting every couple minutes, making sure you're not messing up the cuts. And yeah, no,
Talking to your significant
feel pretty good by
others on the
2.
phone. I'm working.
It was work.
Yeah, it was work.
I'm working.
That sounds familiar.
Trying to make the vodka.
Yeah. More or less. We are both very fortunate that we have very forgiving wives.
Yes, very, very much so.
In the early years, I'm not kidding you when I say Josh and I were here 5 to 6 days a week until 1 a.m., 2 a.m. nonstop.
Uh-huh.
We got to know the Brothers Drake guys really well.
Yeah.
And the
out and go
interesting
over.
culture of the short north back in the 2009, 2010
Hey, did you
era.
ever say to your significant others after you're here till like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and they would say, "So what are you gonna do after you get out of there?" "Oh, we're gonna go to a bar. We're gonna go next door. Just a little change of venue. Might
What
be
are we going to do?
So tell me,
Sorry,
it goes
wives.
from where does OYO? Where did OYO come from as far as a name and marketing it as OYO, and then this transition into Middle West. Middle West was the company
Yep.
always,
Yep.
right? But OYO was the brand.
Correct.
All right. So at some point, a light went off in your heads, and as I've noticed this switch over to branding it as Middle West.
Yep.
Yeah. So what happened? Well, first of all, where did OYO come from?
So OYO is the original name for Ohio.
Okay.
The Iroquois that settled here, they had the name for the beautiful river. When the French came in and took it away, depending on what tribe you were from, is how you'd pronounce it. Oyo, Ohio, Ohio, Eo. And when the English came in, they added the H and the I, and it became Ohio. So for us, they did a lot of research in trying to figure out what we wanted to call the brand, right? And the grain that we're sourcing out of Falls Story, Ohio, right, fits perfectly into OYO. So we went down the road to say OYO is going to be the name of our brand. As you can see, our SKUs have definitely increased over the years. So last year we decided to take a turn to say, you know what, our clear spirits are going to stay OYO, and all of our dark spirits are going to fall under Middle West.
That seems easy
And then
enough.
we also decided to say, hey, you know what, a couple of years ago we decided to do a gin, and we decided to branch that off as a Vim and Pedal as well. So they all have their own staples, and they all blend and match really well together, but they all have their different breaths.
And is it because I've heard both? Is it OYO or is it OYO? I hear people say calling it both things, or do you care?
As long as you're ordering it,
As
I'm
long as
okay.
you get along with it. What do you prefer?
OYO.
Yeah.
OYO.
Yep.
Yeah.
OYO. Yeah. So the middle. So this straight wheated bourbon whiskey that I'm drinking now at one point was the OYO whiskey.
Correct.
It was, yeah.
Yes. Which I still have a bottle of at home.
The black bottle.
Yeah, the
Yep.
OYO bottle.
Yep.
I have that at
Yep.
home since that was I still have that, and had this, but we sometimes on whiskey business we taste and maybe go a quarter of the way through, halfway through,
And it's gone.
No, we killed this
drink
whole.
it
We drank this whole bottle
Well,
that night.
yeah.
I thought
that bottle did not last.
The black bottle stood out. What was kind of the branding decision to go to clear?
Yeah, we made a decision in 11 and 12 that we wanted to become a house of brands. It's very hard to go in and say I have 22 OYO products for you to buy to a bar restaurant, and it just didn't fit. The categories were differentiating themselves quite a bit.
Yeah.
So we decided to, what are our parents? What do we have that we can use? We always knew the whiskeys were going to take Middle West, but we did not change it over until we had the volume and until we had the age. When we had the volume and we had the age, we're like, okay, let's cut it. Let's make the switch. Let's move
why
on.
make the switch before you're ready?
Yeah, what's
Cool.
the point? You go out and you run another Ohio product and you have 4 barrels sitting back, right? As opposed to thousands. So we just decided to wait until we had what we needed, and then it was our 10-year anniversary, and we said, you know what, let's go ahead and work this year to make the change. We partnered with a local company, Anchor Hawking, down in Lancaster, and we said we want to make our own bottles. This is our new
Still
splash.
beautiful bottles. They're awesome.
Yeah, they're beautiful bottles.
And then we're like, it has to be strong enough to compete with that black bottle.
Yeah.
That Michael Reserve bottle, the black one,
Beautiful.
stood out quite a bit.
That's cool.
Other companies have now taken that. Some
Oh,
Scottish
yeah?
companies have, which is lovely. But
A matte. It was like a matte finish.
Yeah, it's a nice. I guess it's a feather in our cap or something. But no, we made sure that when we went to the whiskeys with the Middle West, that we wanted to go to something a little bit more, well, just better than what we had. That was a stock bottle. And we went to something that's more like a decanter, and that became the brand. We split them, and we're off and running now. And we're still working on it because still some people don't understand the split. So we try to talk a little bit more about it. No, there's a reason why we split all these.
Yeah,
So-
there's some people that think these are entirely two different companies.
Correct.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so from the marketing side of things, how do you close that gap?
That's a challenge.
Yeah.
It's about getting out there and just talking to people and getting them to understand the differences and why we
So
changed.
people go, "Oh, this is OYO."
Yep.
That's what
and
happens.
they get that look of surprise, and
Yep.
they're done.
Yep. Well, and the fact is that with the new launch of the new packaging, our ages have gone a lot older.
Yeah.
So now we can actually give a better product, right? I mean,
Right.
we've always been very proud of what we've done, but we can always strive to be a better producer, and we always will.
When did you pull up your big boy pants and say, "All right, let's enter some competitions and see how we stack up against the world"?
2011, I believe, was the first competition we actually entered into. And then we pushed to the ones that we try to do, like double blinds, triple blinds. We don't like where the brand's sitting in front of somebody with a glass like this. We know there's too much, there's just not enough not knowing in that when you're talking to somebody that's been sipping and he likes a label.
Sure.
Unfortunately, 50% of what causes somebody to buy a bottle is the package.
Right.
That's a statistic.
There's the unconscious mind is at work.
It is, and it really
something like
does.
that,
So we just said, you know what? Let's find the avenues where there's blind taste tests, and let's go out there and see what we're doing. And we don't do it for necessarily winning. We do it so we can see what we are compared to the people that are our peers.
yeah. Okay.
How do we do? So, that was
But when
11.
you win,
yeah,
it's good.
it's nice.
It's nice. I mean,
It makes
You're not-
feel good.
You're not gonna you're like, oh, we won. Oh, well,
Yeah,
we
well.
weren't expecting that. We really, actually, give it to somebody else. We don't really come
We
here
were
for
just
the win.
trying to see where we
We
stacked
just want
up.
to see where we stood and everything. So
It's cool. Yeah,
It's very cool. Come on, man.
That's great.
It's
Anytime
nice.
you win some, we just won an award and we're thrilled about it. You know, and if we hadn't won, we would have been okay.
Yeah.
But the fact that we did win, we can't lie. We were happy. You have to be happy about it.
Yeah, when we get the awards that we've received, we're very glad. We're thankful, and that somebody likes what we're doing, which gives us
Right?
opportunity to say, yeah, what we're doing is right. It's going the right path. Now, how do we make it better? And that's what we look at. So we're like, okay, we distilled it this way this time. We chose this cask this time. We rested on this time. We look at everything. We're like, well, how do we analyze this and constantly take a variable set that's exponential? Variable sets in producing whiskey are very wide. And how do you just constantly refine and refine and refine and refine and refine? We're 12 years old. We're 11
Sure.
years old.
Yeah.
There's companies out there. I spent last week in Kentucky. It was beautiful. And I'm just walking around. I'm like, oh my God, these places are amazing. They're 80 years old.
Well, and that's what I was going to say to your award. Sorry to cut you off, but
Yeah.
we're proud to be, of you guys, to be a brand from Ohio and competing with these dudes that have been doing it for fucking generations. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's nice to see that. And then when we're in a competition and we go against them and we get something,
Right.
That
That's cool.
like, we know, hey, we go in and tell Rob over at the plant, hey man,
Nice job.
you're great.
Good job.
Keep
You're
going.
using it up.
Thank you, Rob.
keep-
right?
keep going,
I mean,
keep going.
It's Rob was.
He's
largely
amazing.
responsible. He
Yeah,
made
so
it, yeah.
so we go on and we talk to these guys and we're like, okay, now what are we going to tweak?
Mm-hmm.
And we have tweaked so much in the last 5 years and stuff that you guys don't even know about because of going to these competitions. And we're like, how do we make this better? How can we just?
So you never rest on your laurels.
Oh God, no.
Nope.
No.
But the laurels are good, and people. I hate to be this superficial when I speak about the public, but they do. It won an award. It was the. I wasn't going to go see that movie, but it won an Oscar, so I'm going to go see it. I wasn't going to buy that whiskey, but it won an award. That happened with the what was it? It was McKenna's that was easily available on the shelves, any day of the week that you wanted. Nice, reasonably priced. Picked it up. All of a sudden, wins an award, and price goes up, and it's hard to find again. I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that matters to some people.
It does, and we really do care that people get an opportunity to work with us or try our product, but we also want to make it accessible. So we don't raise elevated prices. That's not what the Midwest is about, and it makes it accessible. So,
which brings me to my next question in respects to the prices. Do the taxes in this world in Ohio, you guys trying to put out a good product in a lovely bottle as far as presentation? You haven't skipped on that at all, and you're putting out and you're working hard.
Beautiful
and soul.
restaurant, beautiful bar,
nice, everything else. But then damn it, the taxes have got to be in Ohio for this industry have been ridiculous, have been improved upon. Where are we at with that, and how does that affect your bottom line?
Yeah, taxes.
Yeah,
taxes. Here we go.
Taxes have been, it's the devil in the back room, to be honest with you. It's just something that we've not been able to escape. Prohibition, when it was repealed in '33, things really haven't changed. We're a sin taxed item. Beer, wine, a little bit more easier to get into that from a tax regulation. We were just way more strict.
Let me put it in what I call Dino terms, real simple. The straight wheated bourbon whiskey, this one right here, sells on the shelf for $45. All right. So after everything's said, paid, and done at $45, what are you getting out of this bottle?
Markup and taxes take half.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. And is there going to be any improvement in the tax arena in respects to that, so that maybe you boys can walk away with a little something extra, and not raise the price for the consumer?
Correct.
Keep the price where it's at for the consumer, that it's comfortable.
Yeah.
And not raise it.
Yeah, we have a few. No, we were very fortunate. In 2018, Senator Portman pushed a bill along through the Senate that allowed us to reduce our federal excise tax by 80%. And that's a chunk.
That is a chunk.
The state takes a big chunk compared to
Right.
that, but the federal excise tax was reduced for 2 years temporarily to 80% of what it was before, for the first 100,000 proof gallons that left your plant for production.
Oh, so it was only for a limited time.
It was limited, but it wasn't
Limited production.
Limited production, but it wasn't just for us. It was a sweeping bill that hit the wine, the beer, and liquor industry, including the large guys as well. And Senator Portman pushed that through, and it was great. And we saved a lot of money. We hired a ton of people, and then we recognized that was going to run out. So over the last year, we've been working with the ACSA, the American Spirits Craft Association, and we've been doing a lot of federal lobbying. So we've been in Washington talking to the congressman, Senate, House, both. There's two current there's a Senate and a House bill right now that are going through Washington to try and make that federal excise tax permanent.
Aside from the Senate and the House bill,
Yep.
might I suggest next time you go to Washington, you take along the mash bill?
Oh, yeah. We do that. We're like,
We did do that.
Here,
It helps.
drink.
Take the mash
Sign.
bill along and explain to the people in Washington.
That's
that
You've been
I don't
working
know.
on that one?
I don't
That's
know
good.
why all of a
That's
sudden
good.
I've become a southern gentleman, a senator from Georgia. I want to say that these men from Ohio need to be able to sell their whiskey at a reasonable price for the consumer. Now, I will not leave this podium until this bill is passed.
He's good. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Nice seersucker suit you brought in for that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great.
Yeah. You can come next time.
Come to boys, there's our next whiskey business special.
yeah. There it is.
Dino
On the
goes to
Capitol.
Washington.
Yes.
That'd be great.
That would be awesome.
I'm all about field trips. I just went with the state of Ohio down to Frankfurt to help select some barrels of Weller.
Oh, nice.
Foolproof, 114 Foolproof
How good was
Weller.
that?
Yeah, 21 barrels I sampled. So I'm when it comes to whiskey field trips, I'm your guy. That's what I'm saying. So
Very
It's
good.
a lot
Yeah.
of walking around. It's hot. It was a good time though. No, but if we get it passed, then the federal excise tax reductions, it means hundreds of thousands of dollars of savings per year. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's many people. I think it
and when you save money, like you said, you hired a bunch of people during
we
that
went.
time
We,
period,
Yeah,
right?
we didn't. We like I said, we keep reinvesting the cash. So we went and we hired as much as we could out of it. So immediately, and it makes an impact.
So it makes an impact in the product and the economy.
Oh, yeah,
and-
big
and
time.
employment. So it's kind of good for everybody.
It is. It is. The laws are a little draconian. They were around from the 33.
I
I mean,
understand.
33. But you know what? I get it. I understand why they're in place. I just hope we can make them permanent because it's. What's scary is a lot of our craft brethren, so our peer sets, have used that capital to grow their business. What happens when it goes away?
Yep.
Right.
Like
Is it going away soon? Has it gone?
it's the end of the year.
End of this year is when it goes
so-
away.
Yeah, there's a potential for a year extension, but still, if it goes away and it's not permanent, what do you do? I mean, that's huge money to guys at mom and pops that make great product that you'd never know about. They'll go away.
And what does that do? What does that do? I mean, after you said you hired a bunch of people, and I don't want to be the cloudy gloom and doom,
Debbie
but
Downer.
if it doesn't get extended or doesn't become permanent,
Yeah.
I mean, does that mean layoffs at Middle West? Does that mean no? You keep everybody on and find a way to make it work?
Yeah, you find a way to make it work.
Yep.
Because in those 2 years when you had it, sales went up,
They did.
right? So
Yep.
okay, so it kind of all
It levels out.
evens
Yep.
out, and hopefully evens out long enough to where it becomes a permanent thing,
Yep.
and then we just go down the happy path.
Correct.
Good.
Yeah, we're fortunate in that we were early to the game when it comes to craft, and it's just we're a slow and steady group. The challenge with whiskey is if you go too fast, you suck your stock dry, right? If you go just not fast enough, you have no money. So you have to find this happy medium to where you grow at a nominal rate that keeps you growing, that allows you to continually reinvest in yourself and lay stuff up. Most of us in our category, we don't want to put 4-year whiskeys out. We want 10-year and 12-year and 15 and 17-year. We got to be here for 15
Yeah,
years.
you got to be here. You got to be here
So-
that long to make it. How do you guys get along with your, for lack of a better word, your competition? And they've done well for themselves as well.
Yeah.
Watershed's done.
They've done a really nice job. Yeah.
They've done a good job as well. So do you guys kind of, is it spy versus spy like in the old Mad magazine, or is it
The white guy and the black guy going at it.
or is it actually and I would like to think that it's more of a community where we can only help each other in the process of
It is.
continuing to put out good Ohio products.
It is. It's all ships rise with the rising tide.
Yep.
We help distilleries in Ohio all the time. If they've got an issue with distilling, they got an issue with anything, they call. We are there in 10 seconds
To help them out.
We have to be. We have to be because I got to be honest with you. There are no education centers for what we do. It's not like you can go to the Oxford University to pick up a distilling degree here. It's all word of mouth. It's all on the job training. So when you have somebody that's just trying to come in and say, I don't want to hurt somebody. I don't want
wanna
to
blow up
be
a
safe.
still.
Right. And I want to make good stuff. We're like, well, sure. Let's talk. We have our own trade secrets. We're not going to
Sure.
tell everybody everything, but
the basic
special
step
sauces.
1, step 2.
Correct.
Here's how not to kill yourself.
That's correct.
That's common knowledge. that you can share.
just do things right, and we believe that in the golden rule, if you treat others as you want to be treated, and you know what, sometimes that bites us in the butt.
Yep.
Brother, I have been there. I've tried to follow that rule in this world of broadcasting.
Tough.
And it has bitten me in the ass
Oh, yeah.
a couple of times through the years. But, I have no regrets for
Yeah,
having taken that road.
And you hold your integrity high.
A little bit,
So-
right?
So
Right.
it's not like we're better than anybody else. We just, hey man, just do the right thing. Just help everybody out. And if you're going to be that guy, then realize everybody's going to know that. So.
Yeah. And
Some of the craft cocktail guys and gals that we have had on say the exact same thing. No, they're not my competition. We bounce ideas off each other all the time.
We
and
do.
I think it's kind of the
yeah,
same world.
because there's a lot of people who are making great craft cocktails in this city, and
Right.
they're all spread out, and and they have competitions.
Yeah.
And some of our friends on the podcast that have won those competitions and done very well. But the whole craft cocktail thing too, I've always asked the bartender perspective of it, as far as where they think it's going and continuing to explode. If the craft cocktail disappeared tomorrow and people went back to just basically pouring whiskey into a glass, drinking it neat, on ice, whatever the case might be, do you think you would still, be that go-to whiskey? I would say yes.
Yeah.
I don't think the craft. I know that it's great that it goes into craft cocktails and it's a craft bourbon and so forth. But at the end of the day, it's just damn good whiskey,
That's the goal.
Quality.
right?
Quality.
Every single thing that we've ever produced, we've had it sort of a thing in our operations is make sure that when you pour it in a glass, vodka, gin, you can sip it neat. If you can sip it neat, then the cocktails are secondary to a certain degree. So,
John's
yeah,
sipping.
you're
He's
right.
nipping.
I don't see the cocktail
That's why we're here.
world going away. I think it's only going to get stronger.
Right.
I think the creativity in that world is just
I like the
it's
fact.
astronomical.
I like the fact that it called back,
Yeah.
if you will. Yeah, go ahead. You can pour some old school,
I love
cocktails
it.
that our
Old
parents grew up with,
Oh, yeah.
and ordered on a regular basis. The old fashioned, the Tom
yeah.
Collins, the Rusty Nail, and so forth and so
the
on.
nail. Oh,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
I have a bad memory of that night. Long story.
All right, so just let me just dig in a lot. Hansberry's telling me how much time I got. I got a
You're
little
good.
extra time.
I just poured the sherry finished bourbon.
Yeah.
I haven't
Well,
sipped it
I
yet.
want to have
but
a little bit of, well, not that it's haven't been fun. This has been a blast, but both of you, your first taste of whiskey was at what age?
Oh God.
Come on, living on the farm. Whether
15?
whether it was actually given to
15.
you or you stole it.
I stole it.
You stole it, yeah.
From
it was some of the shine.
It was my dad's. He had wild turkey. So back in the 70s, the whiskey distilleries had a lot of trouble selling whiskey, so they came up with gimmicks to sell stuff, and they went into the ceramics. You remember all the ceramics?
Yeah.
Yeah, those
he
are
had
cool.
like 40 of them in the basement, and I knew not what they were growing up until my buddy told me, he's like, those are full of whiskey, and they had the little tag over them, the bonded tag. So we would go in water, we would release them, and we would open them up, and we'd dump a little bit in an orange juice container, and off we go on the four wheelers. Grew up a redneck.
And
so,
how was you get sick?
it was terrible.
You hated it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
15.
It was absolutely awful. And, then I started to really, when I got into college, that's when I started to fall back in love with it. So
Fall back in love with
whiskey.
whiskey. And what was it in college?
And in college.
What was your go-to in college?
Oh my God.
And did you ever bring any stuff from home?
No,
up
God,
to
no.
college?
I had some. It was powerful, exceptionally powerful. And I remember the first time I found it on the family premise. It's gone now, a long time ago. I was 10, got in a lot of trouble. But then we saw it over the years. It was around, and you always knew what it was because you pick it up and it was a ball jar, and it just didn't look right. It didn't look like water. Why would you put water in a ball jar? But it was there, and yeah, I've definitely had my fair share. So.
Yeah.
my brother-in-law
So,
said the mailman would bring it. Oh, where'd you get it? The mailman. The mailman.
So do you remember in college what you? Because I didn't drink whiskey in college. I was drinking gin.
It was Jack Daniels.
It was Jack Daniels. There
Oh,
you
yeah,
go.
It was Daniels,
right?
man. It was always
Yeah,
Daniels.
Jack
It was full
Daniels.
bottles too. It was a mess.
It's the best.
Yeah,
and
but-
you, sir?
Probably around 14.
14?
Buddy's house, hey, what's this? And I don't even remember the brand. It was just like, hey.
Was it whiskey or was it booze? Or do
It
you
was
remember?
whiskey.
It was
yeah,
whiskey.
no, yeah, because it was interesting. It didn't taste so great the first time around. I'd say once college, probably more like, unfortunately, Southern Comfort, which
had
is
that.
terrible.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nothing southern and nothing comfortable about it.
Exactly. Yep.
That horrible memories.
Horrible.
Immediately.
Horrible. Or no memories. One or the other. But yeah.
I'm a little older than you boys, but I remember my first experience with alcohol wasn't even whiskey or gins or vodkas. Unfortunately, it was Mad Dog 2020, Annie Green Springs, and Boone's Farm,
Boone's Farm.
Strawberry Hill.
Yeah, Strawberry Hill. You better believe it.
You can drink it all.
Yep.
Mine was Tanqueray. I didn't realize
Really?
But yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah, I know,
That is
I know.
terrible.
I didn't realize how classy I was drinking. Me and my buddies snuck it, and this is the best.
Oh,
we,
my God.
We mixed it with Big Red soda. So we're mixing Tanqueray
that ended up
gin.
well.
Tanqueray gin
Yeah.
and Big Red soda.
Yeah, because this
Classy.
this was probably like sophomore in high school-ish.
Ladies, would you like some Tanqueray and Big Red
And
soda?
Big Red soda.
Have you guys
Pennies
ever
dropped.
heard of Purple Passion?
Yes.
Oh.
Everclear and grape soda. That goes to
We
adults 1,000%.
that was
because,
we called
you know,
we that would be what we call them Wild Buffalo parties.
they sell them in 2 liters.
Yes.
You're like,
And you can't get Everclear in the state of Ohio. I always pick up
Yep.
a couple bottles when I'm in Tennessee or another state
Yep.
because they don't sell Everclear in Ohio. And I don't know why. I was like, I'm 60 years old. Just in case I decide to have a Wild Buffalo party. No.
And I was in need of some Everclear, and you gave it to
oh,
me.
that's right, because you were making limoncello.
I made some homemade limoncello, and I was like,
And I
God
gave
damn
you-
it, I
you
don't have any
needed
Everclear.
Everclear.
And he's like,
would you like some of my stock?
I gotta admit, I do like being that guy. Like, oh man, if we only had a spotted pony, I have one. Come on
Yeah,
over,
my
you
mother
can
was
borrow 'em.
actually
He asked me back by
very proud of you
Thursday.
with that
But
one.
yes, I have a spotted pony if you need a spotted pony. Oh man, so yeah, so whiskey in college, and in you in college it was
More than like Southern Comfort,
Yeah, the Southern
which is
Comfort.
unfortunate. Yes.
yeah.
we don't know what the fuck we're doing when we're 20.
Yeah,
We
no,
don't
it's
know.
like
Jack and Natty Light. It was-
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
a
pretty
lot of
much
natural
what it
light.
was.
Oh, a whole lot of
Milwaukee's
natty.
best.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I
or
don't-
or the Beast.
Yeah, the beast.
Or the
yeah.
beast.
I don't want to upset Josh and get away from the brand, but I mean, if you're making whiskey, you have to appreciate other whiskeys.
Sure.
So when you're not drinking your own products, I mean, I hate when people ask me this, and I'm not going to ask you what's your favorite, but what do you lean towards, or what do you like to experience and experiment with, and see what get curious about?
Yeah. This
Ryes, bourbons, scotches.
I dabble in pretty much everything. Depends on the environment that I'm in, but recently I had a Knob Creek single barrel, 120 proof. It was 14 years old. Oh my God, it was unbelievable. You know, I like to experiment with a lot of the higher proof stuff and see where things are going, because it's not, somebody didn't add water to it to cut it to something that I would take. So Taylor's, the Buffalo Trace stuff they were doing with that double cask.
Yeah.
I was in Philadelphia 2 years ago at a trade show, and I literally had my double cask sitting next to a booth with their double cask, and I got pulverized by them. I was like, this is great. So I just went over there and hung out with them and drank all night. But yeah, no, I really admire those guys for what they do with that stuff. So we try to get that cool stuff as much as we can find. It's hard to get it in Ohio. Usually I have to go to Kentucky to find that kind of stuff.
Right.
But yeah, any of that specialty thing is pretty cool. If I'm skiing, Lagavulin.
What's that?
Lagavulin when I'm skiing.
Yeah.
Smoky Scotch. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Don't know why. Love it when I'm going up the ski lift because it helps me get down the hill. I think it just takes the
I was
edge
actually
off a little.
I was actually a Scotch drinker before I was a bourbon drinker, and or just other forms of whiskey. And I don't even want to say it again. I've said it on the podcast before. It was the death of Frank Sinatra that put me on a Jack Daniel's binge.
Oh, no kidding.
And now Jack is one of my
No, I love
go-tos
Jack.
on an everyday level.
Are you a Scotch drinker? Do you still drink
I
Scotch?
still enjoy scotches.
Okay.
I don't like the smoky ones as much as he does.
Okay.
I don't like
Funky.
but I enjoy them. I enjoy
Balvenie.
the Balvenies,
Oh,
the
good.
Macallans.
Oh, yeah.
When there's some scotches out there that I can't even pronounce, that people would say, have you tried, Laparoscavia or what the? Or there's something there. There's crazy Irish names that I've never even heard of. So
Yeah.
my knowledge in the Scotch world is limited. Even though I did like to drink it when I was, but I only drank what I knew.
Yeah.
Glenlivet
Yeah,
Glenlivet
yeah.
on the Rocks. Oh, Macallan's, I know that one. Balvenie, I know that one. I knew 3.
Yep.
And they were good ones, and
Yep.
I drank them. So
The best
but
one
now,
I've ever had, though, was when we were in Nashville.
Booker's.
We had a 17-year-old Booker's Rye.
Yeah, it was really nice.
Wow.
Oh, my
It
God.
was nice.
And do you drink it? And is there a part of you that's drinking it? And you look at it, and you said you tried the 14-year-old Knob Creek.
Yeah.
Now you got the 17-year-old Booker's, and you're thinking into yourself, man, come on, Middle West, hang in there. We're gonna get there.
Yeah.
We're gonna have
8 more
this.
years, whatever.
This is
There's
gonna
the bar.
be.
Yeah.
We're
Let's
gonna
hit
be
it.
there, and somebody's gonna be going, have you tried the Middle West 14-year? Oh my God!
There's no doubt.
Right?
And
That's gonna happen.
That's where it comes from. That's where it comes
And
from.
you
That-
didn't bring
it's
this up
amazing.
yet. You guys have, I guess, what do you call it? A barrel house, a rick house?
We do.
Like
Yep.
here in the city of Columbus.
Yep.
Well, now we have 2.
So I mean, I think when you think of think of like the wild turkey, out in the big Kentucky farms, but
Yeah.
there's 2 rick houses in the city of Columbus.
There are.
And what's your oldest one?
Right
sitting
now, we have a 9-year-old.
All right,
Yeah.
but tell us
So-
more about those houses.
They are.
We're not going to give you the addresses.
Yeah, you can't.
I'm just asking for a friend. I'm asking for a friend.
No, they're. Yeah, that's the other part. That's something else. Depending on the distillery you go to in Kentucky, when you go on a tour, they'll say 70% of the flavor comes from the barrel, or 50%.
Right.
You know what? Yeah, sure. Flavor comes from the barrel. 50, 70%. It's in the eye of the beholder, really. Chemically, you could probably analyze it to tell exactly what that number is, but it varies by place. The bottom line is this. Every single step in making a whiskey is unbelievably important. You cannot skip one. So aging is just as important. How you cook a barrel, how you burn it, how you roast it, the drying time on the staves, the char level, the time in the barrel, the oxidation, all of that factors into what makes a very good long-term whiskey. And as long as you think about the things that the good guys do, what are they doing? Where are they pulling from the rick house? We've taken a lot of those cues to build our rick houses. So temperature control, time, how high, how wide, airflow, barrel, all that stock stuff, all a consideration when we make a whiskey, because our goal is just what you said. I want somebody, when I hand them a 17-year-old Michael in Reserve, to be like, oh my God, where am I going to find that? Because I know when I left, I was like, Jesus, I got to find that. Do you know that? I never found it.
No.
Never found it again. I've asked everybody I know, and I know a couple people down there.
Are you sure you had it?
Oh yeah.
Are you sure it wasn't a
We had
dream?
that and a tomahawk about that thick.
Yep.
It was a very good night. So,
Sit at the bar,
oh my
A
God.
ice
tomahawk.
cube in the middle, and
Oh, yeah,
just
it was-
relaxing.
it was
and
a- it
enjoying.
was a
It was,
special-
yeah.
Do I
Especially
dare
the-
ask what the tomahawk had to do with anything? Or?
It was just the steak.
Yeah.
The steak, the big thick
Oh,
tomahawk
the big
steak.
tomahawk steak.
with the
Okay,
bone in,
all right.
the
Steak
bone in.
and
Right.
whiskey.
I was just
well,
like,
so if you would have died that night,
I
you
was
would have been
happy.
you would have been like, okay, all
Yeah,
right,
I'm good.
I'm
Roll.
good.
Check, check, check.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Yeah.
it was pretty amazing.
That's a
and
good
there was
way
a
to go.
guy in the back playing a piano.
Oh, it was
He was playing like 30s
It
piano.
was,
I was
yeah.
like, where am I? It's called the Rainbow Room in Nashville.
In Nashville.
If you get a chance to go there, it's a special experience.
They acquire lots of great whiskeys.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, this has been this is
Yeah.
Road trip.
Yeah,
Next
That's our
road
next
trip.
field trip,
This
huh?
has been an amazing experience. I have one very important question that I'll ask for myself and the boys. Are we going to get a free T-shirt?
Of course. You're already wearing them.
I'm kidding. I want to thank you both, gentlemen, so much. Ryan Lang and Josh Daly, and please give our thanks to Brady as well.
Yep.
Definitely.
For letting us come in here. I think our whiskey business fans who listen to the podcast for a lot of reasons, but every time we get to go a little whiskey centric, it's very cool. And when we can actually do something like this, actually be at the place and kind of hear a story about a company that started right here in Columbus, Ohio, and now has worldwide awards and national exposure, and it continues to grow and prosper. Nothing but the best of luck to everybody involved in Middle West,
thank you.
especially you guys for being here today. So thank you so much. I really
appreciate
do
it.
appreciate it.
Absolutely.
The guest bottle, where'd it go? There it goes. It was
yeah,
this
it
one,
is.
right?
Man.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was the
drank it
Middle
all.
West straight rye whiskey, which apparently how many bottles left?
Well, it depends on how much you guys buy when you
Well,
leave.
yeah.
Right now we have 20.
19. Make it 19. 16.
16 it say
I
it.
was gonna say, you got the. I know that the bar and the restaurant's closed, but is the credit card machine running? Because we might take them all.
It's always running.
It's running. We'll take them before we leave.
I don't know how to use it.
Isn't that funny? I have no idea. I just make the whiskey. I don't count how the money gets put into the register. This is beautiful stuff. Hansberry, a couple things before we close.
Well, I thought this was fitting. This is from Jumping Jesse. He says, "Where are we going?" Question mark with a 5-star review. Love the podcast. Never know who I'll meet or where Dino will take me.
Well,
And while sipping on some whiskey, you gotta love it.
well,
That's cool.
We have taken you to the heart of Middle West spirits, and also congratulations. I almost the service bar.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
one of the most popular and hard to get
It's
into
beautiful.
places in the
It's
city.
beautiful.
People rave about service bar, so you got to be happy about that as well. Did you have any inkling that you would get into the service side of it as well, on that level, or was that your concoction?
It took a little while to get there. We had to change some laws in order to open that up.
Yeah.
So breweries and wineries had always been able to do a tasting room. Spirits could not. So it took us a little while to leverage the state.
Don't
in
you
order to
have?
open this up.
I learned this from from Leanne's tour. Don't you have like a
Oh.
something over here that allows you to do it?
A super secret.
If we take the or,
Okay,
over
all right,
there
okay.
later, yes, we have a special little
okay,
room
it's
called
a
the
secret.
winery that we actually built just in case
Okay,
law didn't
well,
get passed.
that's a tease for people to come and get a tour here at
Yes.
Middle West, because you can get a tour, right?
Oh, of course.
How would one would want
Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays we do public tours. Sign
my
up
gosh,
middlewestspirits.com.
that's
I got a feeling that the farmer in Ryan is not going to leave any stone unturned, and to make sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed sufficiently. So yeah, I don't see any kind of those mistakes happening down the line. Nothing but moving up and moving forward. That's a great bar. This is a great place. Anything else you got to mention before we go? No, you told everybody.
Instagrams, Facebook,
Right.
YouTube, and share with your friends, man. The grassroots effort is legit.
We hope that you guys will share this
we will.
as well with
Definitely.
your Middle West people. My name's Dino Tripodis. Whiskey Business is a Never the Luck production produced on the audio side by the always propagating Greg Hansberry. and on the video side on YouTube, the amazing John Whitney. And our guests have been Josh Daly and Ryan Lang from right here at Middle West Spirits in Columbus, Ohio, who have been making amazing whiskey since, well, they started in 2008, and the first vodka went out in 2010, but it's onward and upward, and I can't wait to try that 12-year, that 14-year, that 17-year.
3 years away. You said they got a 9-year hiding somewhere.
See,
That's right.
I'll be, yeah, I'll still be
I
alive.
hope.
Hopefully we will be too.
Ryan says we're not sure we will.
All right, so guys, until the next bottle, see ya.
Cheers.
Cheers, man.